New tonight, CMPD records show it has now suspended one of its own.
This comes after WCNC Charlotte questioned the department about why some police officers logged off their radios the moments a gunman killed 4 officers during an ambush. In the days after that East Charlotte shootout back in April, multiple officers shared their concerns with us about the small number of their colleagues who were seemingly unavailable that afternoon.
Yeah, and when our Nate Morabito asked CMPD about this, the department publicly dismissed their concerns and even called our reporting irresponsible. But as Nate found out, the department has suspended one of its officers we kept asking about.
We can't tell you why CMPD took action against this officer because the agency tells us, by law, it can't release certain details about personnel matters, calling them confidential. What we can say, though, is this change in employment, a suspension, came just days after our investigation aired and followed a Facebook post by the Fraternal Order of Police criticizing the department's response to our reporting. Transparency leads to trust.
It is imperative that you be truthful up front.
Trust builds confidence.
Now we know, several weeks later, that it was 100% true, that your facts were 100% correct.
A WCNC Charlotte investigation in July raised questions.
Officers were not happy.
On behalf of the hundreds of on and off-duty police,
They went there and they heroically did their best.
who responded to the Galway Drive shooting, about the exception that afternoon, the small number of their colleagues who logged off their radios.
It's not that they logged off, it's what their logging off represents as far as the response from the department.
On what turned out to be the deadliest day for law enforcement in Charlotte history.
It is important to know that while this was going on, that we had people who were, for no other better word than to say, a coward. Because the community deserves better, because what if it's them next time being shot at?
I'd like to hear the justification.
Despite those words from former FBI agent and federal prosecutor M. Quentin Williams.
I hope that that becomes clear very quickly because it's unacceptable unless there is good justification.
And former FBI Assistant Director Chris Wecker's call for more openness.
I think a little bit more transparency might be good for the city.
A CMPD spokesperson strongly cautioned WCNC Charlotte from moving forward with our story, noting the sensitive nature of the day's events, calling our reporting irresponsible and a slam job. Ultimately, the department told us it refused to speculate about why some officers were seemingly unavailable.
As tragic as it is, I don't want to see people using it as an excuse to forego answering questions because it may not fit a certain criteria of what they want the image of their agency to look like.
Fraternal Order of Police President Daniel Redford said the department's dismissive response prompted the police organization to criticize the spokesperson's handling of this situation on Facebook.
The department should not be the one to determine what news stories they decide they want to answer questions on.
Just 4 days after the FOP's post, on July 31st, CMPD updated this patrol officer's personnel file to show he's officially suspended pending a final decision by the Civil Service Board. We filmed that officer in June, working desk duty, a change to his employment that lasted for weeks, but one, despite our repeated questions, the department never reflected in the publicly releasable portions of his personnel file. The department spokesperson told us North Carolina public records law does not allow agencies to release public information about temporary work assignments. It also took CMPD weeks to update another patrol officer's file, transferring him to a different division, officially listing the reassignment in June.
It goes to show that, your irresponsible slam job article that you wrote wasn't irresponsible on your part.
An internal email later confirmed both were among the officers who logged off the radio on April 29th. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
Now, Nate and our team have done extensive coverage and investigative work surrounding the ambush. We've talked to law enforcement experts, we've sat down with neighbors, examined the radio calls from that day, and much more. To see those reports right now, you can head to our website or our mobile app.